we are not going to talk about conspiracy theories today, because if we did, this trolley...
Folks, look to your right. This area, this is Dealey Plaza. November 22nd, 1963. People travel from all over the world to experience this. But if you want to get the best experience of what it was like to be here that unforgettable day in November, President Kennedy introduced the very first Civil Rights Bill. He was instrumental in bringing civil rights to America.
The Western Hemisphere as an attack by the Soviet Union on the United States, requiring a full retaliatory response upon the Soviet Union.
That was the atmosphere in 1963 here in America. Schools all across the nation routinely have bomb drills for their students. American
Coming up here to the right, they have a really pretty waterfall, and up on top of the hill, they have a historical cemetery.
President Kennedy flew in Air Force One from Carswell Air Force Base in Fort Worth, and he landed at Dallas Love Field at 11:40 in the morning. The motorcade cars are Kennedy Blue, Lincoln Continental convertible. You know, a lot of people at this point will say shopping, but folks, Mrs. Kennedy was not making personal appearances. She had lost her baby in August, but Mrs. Kennedy was just a bigger draw as her husband was. At fundraisers, women, they flocked to her. And then those women went and told their very wealthy husbands to donate big to the campaign. So just before the Texas trip, President Kennedy says, "Jackie, I need you to come." It was the first time that Mrs. Kennedy had been seen in public in 9 months. Now, folks, the presidential motorcade comes right down the street we're on right here, Harwood Street. But President Kennedy, but the few people that were up on those roads had some signs holding them up that said, "Mr. President, please stop and shake our hands." Well, folks, JFK was the kind of president, he wanted to be seen by everyone. So he said, "Driver, pull over." He shook those people's hands. It was a group of Catholic nuns and a group of school children. 50,000 people, a mob on both sides of the street. Every single window in downtown has a face looking out of it. Folks, presidents didn't come to Texas, but here was John F. Kennedy and his wife coming right down Main Street of Dallas. The nearest parking spot was 15 blocks away. And the Dallas police did the very best job they could do. They're at every intersection, and they're dispersed throughout this massive mob. But folks, this was bigger than the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. This was more electric than a Beatles concert. The people at Dallas went crazy. They came down here hoping, pleading, begging, just to get eye contact or a glimpse of the President and the First Lady. And every time...
Hold wedding receptions in front of that thing. Why? I don't know.
Now, 12:25 p.m., November 22nd, the motorcade is right here, coming down Main Street. And at this exact same time, back in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., witnesses are being called to testify to the biggest political scandal of the 20th century. They are making a case against amass a personal fortune of $15 million. Today, that'd be over $70 million. How did the Vice President, LBJ, do this? Now, President Kennedy, he knew of the investigation going on in Washington. And even though he said publicly many times that LBJ was going to be taken off the ticket in 1964, the Kennedys no longer needed him.
It's the second window from the top on the right side. The window has a box in it, and what's in that box is a camera. And if you go to earthcam.com and look up Dealey Plaza, it has a camera view onto the plaza right here. It has a little bit of a delay, so if you stand down here with your phone and wait till it gets to you, you can screenshot it on your phone, and then you get a picture of yourself pendant down here like what Oswald was looking at. Kind of cool.
And up ahead on the right is the infamous grassy knoll and picket fence. And right here is where the shots rang out. The president of motorcade picks up speed and rushes President Kennedy to Parkland Hospital, 3.5 miles north of 35 in that direction. Dealey Plaza is now in confusion and chaos. The police storm up the Texas School Book Depository building because witnesses have seen a shooter up on the 6th floor. The police search the building floor by floor. And then patrolman Marion Baker, he sees a white male in the lunchroom on the 2nd floor, and that white male is very calm. The superintendent of this Texas School Book Depository tells Dallas police, that man standing there, he's okay. He's an employee. The name of that employee is Lee Harvey Oswald. The president was shot at 12:30 p.m. And at 12:33 p.m., just 3 minutes after, Lee Harvey Oswald exits the building of the School Book Depository and he boards a city bus. He doesn't ride the city bus long, he gets caught up in traffic. Then Oswald hails a taxi cab driven by a man named Mr. William Whalen. He tells Mr. Whalen, take me to the 500 block of North Bank. But folks, who is Lee Harvey Oswald? Historians will tell you he's a nobody. He's a misfit. He's an outcast. But when you look at Oswald's life, what he really is, he's an atypical somebody. Oswald was born in New Orleans, Louisiana. He had 2 older brothers. While he is in Russia, he meets a woman named Marina and he marries her. And after a few years, they come back to America and they settle right here in Dallas-Fort Worth, 1963. The Dallas police put out an all-points bulletin.
Attention all squad. The suspect is a shooting that Elman Houston is reported to be an unknown white male, approximately 30, from Westerville, height 5 feet 10 inches, weight 165 pounds, reported to be armed with what is thought to be a 30 caliber rifle.
Folks, what that all-points bulletin means is all the outlying area police, they're coming downtown. So all these roads you see right here, they now start to have police cars roaring up and down them. Their sirens are blaring. That is the scene of the rest of the day. Now Oswald was in his taxi. He told Mr. Whalen, take me to the 500 block of North Bank, November 22nd, as Lee Harvey Oswald walked right through this door at 10:26. He goes to the left side of that house to his room. He picks up a light-colored zipper jacket and his .38 caliber Smith & Wesson revolver. He's only in that house 1 minute. Then he comes back out here, and on foot, Oswald goes back in the exact same direction he just came from. Now take a look at that little house, folks. On November 22nd, there are 16 rooms for rent. 10 on the upper level, 6 below the basement. Out of that taxi and on foot goes to the rooming house. These are the neighborhoods Oswald is making his way through. This is what 1963 looks like. And on November 22nd at 1:14 p.m., just 44 minutes after the president was shot, Jack Tatum was in his automobile driving on Denver. He comes up to the four-way stop. He puts on his turn signal. And as Jack Tatum makes the turn on the 10th Street, he sees a white male on the left sidewalk walking in that direction. Simultaneously, he sees a Dallas police car coming into view, coming in this direction. And when that police car comes into view, that white male suddenly just turns around and goes the other way. Now, folks, right up here on the left, you see this telephone pole? This is where it all happened right here. This is 404 10th Street. Now, Jack Tatum in his automobile, he comes up to the intersection in front of the trolley here, and he stops. And everything I tell you, he saw in his rearview mirror. Now, a Dallas policeman in his police car coming this way, his name is Officer J.D. Tippett. And Officer Tippett has very good reason to stop and talk to this guy walking around here on the sidewalk. Because one, he matches the description put out on the police radio on APB. And two, very suspicious that when his car came into view, that this guy suddenly just turned around and started going the other way. Now, nobody knows what was said, but I imagine that it was something like this. And it says, hey, what's your name? Where are you going? JFK was mourned by Americans for a long time, but so was Officer J.D. Tippett. He was survived by his wife and 3 young children. He was more than just a Dallas policeman. J.D. Tippett was also a World War II hero. And up the sidewalk to the Texas Theater. And folks, the Texas Theater looks exactly like it did that day. They still show movies there. Now, Johnny Brewer, the sales guy, he leaves his store unattended, and he follows Oswald up the sidewalk. I don't know about you guys, but I think that Johnny Brewer was a very lucky man that he didn't get shot. Now, the ticket girl who's working at the Texas Theater, her name is Julia Postal. She's standing out front here, watching all the police cars roar up and down. So she doesn't see Oswald. But who do you think does? Johnny Brewer, that's right. Johnny Brewer says, Miss Postal, a very suspicious man went in. I don't think he paid for a ticket. You should call police. Folks, the police are here pretty quickly. Sergeant Gerald Hill.
He's here in the 4 windows. That was his record. Everything down there is real, except for the Bigfoot and the trees over here. That is not real. And all this belongs to the gas station. Only in Texas.
We are on our way to the old city jail. Now, a lot of people don't think about this. The Dallas police received like 1,000 death threats about Oswald. So during this transfer, the police cannot take any chances that someone tries to take a shot at him. So it was upstairs from a restaurant, right up here at the corner, at Akron and Commerce, right here at the entrance of this park is where it was. Folks, this was in the thick of it all. If you came downtown for Dallas nightlife, you went right here to the Carousel Club. So now, folks, JFK had a unique way of inspiring people. You know what JFK wanted you to do? He wanted you to go out and make a difference in this world. And he had a good way of putting it.
2 generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it. I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we